Let me turn the microphone on. What's going on, Not Move Nation? Welcome to the Not Move podcast. I hope everybody's having a great day. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you to all the supporters, subscribers, and followers. We really appreciate you guys. Also, a special thank you to the sponsors, BetUS, MyBookie.ag, Walmart.com, Open Goal, the MLB and NFL Pro Shops, and Dubby Energy Drinks. All right, so I haven't really had a whole lot of time to do any research today, but I at least wanted to get on here and give you guys some injury updates. I know how important those are to you guys, so our first game starts in about an hour and a half. And I'm just going to log on to the FanDuel Daily Fantasy app to get these player injury updates. I think they do a great job at providing those updates, along with rotowire.com, ROTO wire.com. All right. Yeah. All right. So here we are. Joel Embiid, center for the Philadelphia 76ers, out tonight with a knee issue. Looks like Andre Drummond is going to be starting at center. He's the projected starting center, not confirmed yet. Jalen Williams, small forward / power forward for the Oklahoma City Thunder, out with a wrist issue. Still hasn't played any ball this season. There are two Jalen Williams on this team. The one that I'm talking about is Jalen. PG-13 Paul George remains out with a knee issue tonight. He is the small forward / power forward for the Philadelphia 76ers. Benedict Mathurin out with a toe issue. He is the shooting guard / small forward for the Indiana Pacers. Well, let's see here. It says he's been ruled out of Saturday's game against the Nuggets. Let me double check on that. We said Benedict Mathurin. You may want to double check me on that. Why am I seeing? Yeah, I would double check that if you're interested in that specifically. Benedict Mathurin. Let me find out one other thing. Because I'm just seeing that he remains out versus Denver, but that was last updated November 8th. So I would double check that a little bit closer to game time. That game starts at 9 p.m. Eastern time. All right, let's keep moving on here. Aaron Wiggins out tonight. He is the small forward / power forward for the Oklahoma City Thunder and he's out with a thigh issue. Zach Edey, center for Memphis, remains out tonight with an ankle issue. TJ McConnell, questionable to play tonight. That would be nice to get him back for the Indiana Pacers. He hasn't played this season. He has a hamstring issue, but he is questionable tonight to play. If he does play, I'm seeing that he will likely have some sort of a minutes restriction. Yeah, he's a solid player there. Mitchell Robinson, center for the Knicks, questionable tonight with an ankle injury. Mamu Kelashvili, the center for Toronto, is questionable with a neck issue tonight. A lot of people just call him Mamu, but yeah, Mamu Kelashvili questionable with a neck issue. Center for Toronto. Dort, shoulder issue, has been ruled out. He is the shooting guard / small forward for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Day'Ron Sharp, out with a glute issue. Center for the Brooklyn Nets. Quentin Jackson, shooting guard for Indiana. You may want to check those Indiana Pacer players a little bit closer to game time, and I'll check as the show progresses to see if we have any more updates on that specific team. And then Al Horford, toe, out tonight. He's the center for the Golden State Warriors. Taylor Hendricks, small forward / power forward for the Utah Jazz. Not sure. Looks like he's out, though. Once again, I'm looking at rotowire.com and the FanDuel Daily Fantasy app. Brandon Clark, power forward / center for Memphis. Looks like he's out tonight. Looks like he'll be out for some time here. Looks like for another 6 to 9 weeks. Brandon Clark, that's power forward / center for Memphis, is out. Abaji, shooting guard for Toronto, out with lower back spasms. And that seems like, that seems like about it out of the most notable injuries. Hey, Michael, thanks for joining. Hope you're having a great day. Hey, how's it going, Ivan? Good to see you. All right, so I would say the most notable injuries, Embiid being out tonight, obviously Jalen Williams, Jalen, for Oklahoma City, Paul George, he's been out, though, Benedict Mathurin, Aaron Wiggins, Edey, TJ McConnell being questionable. I would say that's one of the bigger headlines, injury updates to keep up to date with. I do see that Jamal Murray and Aaron Gordon for the Denver Nuggets are expected to play tonight. They are probable. It's rare that I see a player is probable and doesn't play, but it does happen from time to time. So those lineups are not set in stone yet, but we should get some information here soon if we don't already have it about some of these guys. All right, so if you guys have any questions about any player props, feel free to let me know. I haven't had really any time to do much research today, so I'm just kind of freestyling here. I don't have any leans right now for like money line and spread picks, but we'll see if I can find something. Just off the top of my head, I'm looking here and I see that Cam Thomas remains out for Brooklyn tonight. And, Michael Porter Jr. should get a heavy workload in this game, one would think. Now, a concern, we said this, I think it was Brooklyn's last game. Let me go look at their schedule. It was the last NBA show I did. I was talking about how Michael Porter Jr. would have a big workload, and he did that night. I think he scored 28 points, which probably went over his point total. He didn't have the most ideal matchup, and it really doesn't look like he has the most ideal matchup here again today. But his workload may be so big that they just keep feeding him the ball, and he gets over whatever his point total is listed at. I'm about to usage rates, and usage rate pretty much, dictates how important a player is to that team's offensive production. Over under 22.5. I feel like that's just naturally, I feel like that's low with the workload that he should have tonight. Now, one of Michael Porter Jr.'s strong points is his 3-point shot, and Toronto ranks third best as a team at defending against small forwards, not for small forwards, as a team, Toronto ranks third best in 3-point field goals allowed per game. So they're really limiting those 3-pointers really well. But I want to see specifically how they defend against that small forward position that Michael Porter Jr. is projected to play tonight. And Toronto has allowed the 10th most 3-point field goals made per game. It's been a long day. Ninth most. The ninth most 3-point field goals made per game allowed to small forwards. So, although they're a good 3-point shooting team, I like that. I like that. Toronto is below average in points per game allowed to small forwards. And, we said Michael Porter Jr. And if you guys have any questions, looks like Ivan has one here. And I'll get to that here in just a second. Ivan, thank you for the question. Michael Porter versus Raptors. Let's just go check that out real quick. The statistics on that. Michael Porter Jr., how many times has he gone over the 22.5 point total? And he's played 9 career games against the Raptors. So how many times has he had 23 or more points? 2 times. I feel like that's good enough for me. I mean, of course, I would like to see him have, a perfect 9 out of 9 history. But I don't think he's ever had the workload that he's expected to receive tonight, playing with the Raptors. Once again, I just naturally feel like that line is a little bit too low for Michael Porter Jr., especially with Cam Thomas, being out. But we can go look at another player here in just a minute. I want to answer this question. We can go look at another player to see their over-under, see if there's anybody with, over-under 22.5 points. And then just kind of compare them with Michael Porter Jr. So let's get over here. I got Mikal Bridges in a parlay for 2 threes. Does he sell my tickets? Let's go take a look at that, Ivan. Mikal Bridges, projected to be that small forward for the Knicks tonight, going up against Memphis, who ranks 13th in 3-point field goals allowed per game. So they are slightly above average this season, but let's go take a look at how they defend, like Michael Porter, how Memphis defends against that 3-point shot. The Grizzlies have allowed 2 3-pointers. The Grizzlies have allowed the third fewest 3-point field goals made per game to small forwards this season. And the fact that they rank above average at defending against, as a team, defending against that 3-point shot makes me concerned about it. I think I'm going to need some good history from Mikal Bridges for me to justify this play here. But you may have been looking at this prop all day long and have 100 reasons why you like it. But me, I gotta have some good history here for these general research shows. I haven't had it any time today. Mikal Bridges versus the Grizzlies is what we want here. Mikal Bridges versus Grizzlies. How many times in the past few games has he had 2+ 3-point field goals against this team? The last 2 out of 3, 2 out of 4, 3 out of 5, 3 out of 6, 3 out of 7, 3 out of 8, 3 out of 9, 3 out of 10. The last 3 out of 10 games against Memphis, he's got there. Only went over last 3 out of 10 games. My guess, Ivan, is that you like that because Mikal Bridges' game log. My guess is that he's kind of on a heater right now with getting 2+ in a game. He's had 2+ in the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games. So he is on an 8 game streak. 8-game streak by hitting those threes. Excuse me. I want to see if maybe we also have. I'll look up one other thing here. Let's look to see if we can find information on Mikal Bridges versus KCP. Mikal Bridges versus KCP head-to-head statistics. Let's see if we can find anything on that. Mikal Bridges versus other NBA stars. Games played between Mikal Bridges and other NBA stars. It takes me to landofbasketball.com. I think this is a great source too. Gives you some good historical data. Mikal Bridges versus Kentavious Caldwell Pope. Let's see if I can find that information here. Now, he shouldn't be the primary defender on Mikal Bridges, but look, they've played 26 career games against each other. If Mikal Bridges has, hit that line in 26 out of 26 games against KCP, I would love it, So I just want to see if we can find something like that. Mikal Bridges hasn't had 2+ 3-point field goals in a game that KCP has played in the last 3 games. In the last 3 games, he hasn't got there. He's only got there in the last 1 out of 4 against KCP, 1 out of 5, 2 out of 6, 3 out of 7, 3 out of 8, 4 out of 9, 5 out of 10. So at least in the last 10 games, he's got there 5 times. But 3 games in a row against KCP, he hasn't got there. So, I'm concerned about it, man. I'm concerned about it. But I'll keep an eye out, and I'll be rooting for you, man. I would much rather you win and me be wrong on that than me be right and you lose. So definitely going to be rooting for Mikal Bridges, 2+ 3-pointers tonight. But, yeah, I have my doubts. So, let's go see if we have somebody else with 22.5 over under. Jamal Murray for the Nuggets, over under 22.5 points. Which I think Denver might be in a good spot here tonight. I don't know about I don't even know what the spread is or anything like that, but just looking at kind of browsing the data that I do have. But yeah, Jamal Murray over under 22.5 points, the same line as MPJ. So how many points per game? Is he projected to be the point guard tonight, Jamal? Sometimes they have him projected as the shooting guard. But, yeah, tonight, RotoWire.com has him projected to be that starting point guard. So how many points per game is Sacramento allowing to the point guard position? They've allowed the 7th most. 7th most points per game allowed to point guards. That's good. And then what about those 3-point field goals made per game? Because I know Jamal Murray can shoot that 3 ball. Sacramento has allowed the fewest 3-point field goals made per game to the point guard position. Sac ranks first in 3-point field goals allowed per game to point guards. As a team, they're slightly below average at allowing those 3-point shots. And, is Jamal Murray good at scoring points in the paint? I don't think he's going to be particularly great at that statistic, at that category. The reason why I ask is because Sacramento ranks 28th, so they allow the 3rd most points in the paint per game. And Jokic ranks 2nd best in the NBA in points in the paint per game. So I'm not going to look into the Jokic stuff this second. If I have time, I will. But, just based on that alone, Jokic has a big advantage. I do just want to see real quick, in case you guys are interested in the Jokic points tonight, how many points per game is Sacramento allowing to the center position. They're about average, maybe a little below average. Jokic can also shoot that 3-point shot. Sacramento is slightly below average at defending against that. But let's stay against the center position, which is what Jokic is projected to play tonight. But let's stick with the matter at hand here with Jamal Murray. And we were looking to see if he was, somewhat decent. He doesn't rank in the top 50 in the NBA in points in the paint per game. So, there he is. He ranks 59th. He's averaging about 8 points in the paint per game. So I like that aspect of it. I don't like, the point guard defense by Sacramento against that 3-point shot. But maybe we can find something else here. Let's go look up Jamal Murray against the Kings. While I'm looking that up, I just want to say that Denver has won 6 games in a row against Sacramento. And Jamal Murray has a 10-6 career record against Sabonis. Jokic has a 20-10 career record against DeRozan. Jokic has a 14-5 career record against Levine and a 16-8 career record against Dennis Schroeder. So a lot of advantages in that historical career records. I even looked up guys against Precious Achiuwa, who looks like he's starting for the Kings tonight in the power forward position. Not confirmed yet, but let's go back to Jamal Murray's game log against the Kings here. How many times has he gone over those 22.5 points? My guess is more times than Michael Porter Jr. 2 out of the last 4, 3 out of 5, 3 out of 6, 4 out of 7, 4 out of 8, 4 out of 9, 4 out of 10. 4 out of his last 10, which I think is more than Michael Porter Jr. against whoever the Nets are playing tonight. Excuse me. 4 out of the last 10 against Sacramento. And then what about Jamal Murray versus Dennis Schroeder head-to-head? That could very well be his primary defender tonight. Jamal Murray has a 15-6 career record against Dennis Schroeder. 16-6, excuse me. How many times has Jamal gone over the 22.5 point total against Schroeder? 3 out of 5, 4 out of 6, 5 out of 7, 6 out of 8, 7 out of 9, 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10, 9 out of 11. This actually doesn't seem like a terrible prop. But let's go look at Nuggets usage rate as well. Nuggets usage rate. Here's my concern. The Nuggets are really using Jamal Murray this year. Now, Valanciunas, he leads the team in usage rate, but he's only averaging 12.6 minutes per game. And then it's Jamal Murray, Jokic, Murray at 27. And what did we say Michael Porter Jr. was at? 20. I could see both of these guys going over their props. Brooklyn Nets usage rate. Michael Porter Jr. is at 29.6%. So here's the difference. Is not only does Michael Porter Jr. have a higher usage rate than Jamal Murray, but with Cam Thomas being out tonight, Michael Porter Jr. is the leader in usage rate for Brooklyn. And there's a lot of separation between Michael Porter Jr. and the next man who has a decent usage rate and plays decent minutes. Zaire Williams, 18.5% usage rate. So that's 11.1 difference. That's a huge difference. So I think, Michael Porter Jr.'s usage could be out of the roof tonight. And, Jamal Murray, he does lead the Nuggets in usage rate as of right now. He leads the Nuggets in usage rate out of players that average 20 or more minutes per game. But it's kind of close. He's real close to Jokic, And there's even a guy off the bench that has a higher usage rate, Valanciunas. Aaron Gordon's pretty close to them, and he's averaging about 30 minutes per game. So, the Murray's usage rate is what I'm concerned about. And once again, Sacramento defending against that point guard position, they've been, um, with that three ball, they've been pretty good at defending against that. Jamal Murray went 0 for 5 in his last game. Looks like they played 8 days ago, Nuggets and Kings. Jamal Murray went 0 for 5 downtown. And I'm just kind of looking at these other games against Schroeder. 5 out of 9 from downtown, 2 out of 7, 2 out of 7, 0 out of 4. 5. I mean, so he can do it. Just, is he going to or not? And if he doesn't get it done that way, I feel like he's going to have trouble. Like Michael Porter, if his shot's not falling down tonight, I feel like he can get into the paint. I actually want to know what he ranks in points in the paint per game. He ranks 59th, so not far behind Jamal Murray. I mean, actually, him and Jamal Murray average the exact same amount of points in the paint per game. And Toronto allows the 7th most points in the paint per game. And what does Sacramento allow? The 3rd most. So, I mean, I guess in that regard, Jamal Murray, he can get it done in the paint too, but Michael Porter Jr.'s usage should be a lot higher. Thought about Nico getting fired today. I honestly don't even know. I've been working all day, so I just got to the computer. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. Wow. I know that he made a questionable decision by getting rid of Doncic. And I feel like that was a big red flag right there. I didn't see, I don't understand that trade. And I don't know all the ins and outs about it. I mainly focus on, statistics and stuff like that. What do you guys think about that? Got superstar return. Yeah, I didn't even know. I heard that they were thinking about firing him. I don't know a whole lot about it. I just know that Doncic for Anthony Davis trade was questionable, and that was a red flag. And I'll have to look into that some more. But my guess is it's probably going to be for the best. What about you? What do you think? Brooklyn. I just want to mention Brooklyn allows the most points in the paint per game this season, and I talk about how important those points in the paint are. I mean, if I'm sweating a player prop, especially a player going over points, I want to typically have close to the basket, high percentage shots instead of, I mean, don't get me wrong. I know there's players that are like DeRozan, a great mid-range jump shooter, Chef Curry, great three-point shooter. But what if they're having an off night? Can they get it done other ways? Are they going against teams that are, not only weak at what they're good at, but if they're having an off night, can they get to the basket? So that's why, I value points in the paint a lot. And, for Toronto, points in the paint leader is going to be R.J. Barrett, and Scotty Barnes. So those would be the first two guys on my radar for points tonight. All right. So let's go look at Scotty Barnes' game log. And let's go look at R.J. Barrett game log. It'll take me to ESPN.com. And I want to look at the advanced statistics column and see if these guys have a higher points per 40 minutes rate than they have had throughout their entire careers. Scotty Barnes, points per 40 minutes is higher than it's been throughout his whole career. It's actually steadily rose. This is his 5th season. Steadily has climbed, and this is his 5th season at an all-time high. R.J. Barrett, he's at a higher points per 40 than Scotty Barnes, but it is a little bit lower than the previous 3 seasons. So I think whoever's weak at defending against whatever position that they're playing tonight is probably going to be the move here. Barrett is running shooting guard, Barnes running power forward. So shooting guard, points per game allowed by Brooklyn to the shooting guard position, they've allowed the 9th most. BKN has allowed the 9th most points per game to shooting guards. And then Scotty Barnes is running power forward tonight. Brooklyn has allowed the most points per game to power forwards this season. So I think I'm leaning towards Scotty B's points as of right now. Barrett's at 19.5 points over under. Barnes is at 18.5 points over under. My guess is that Toronto Raptors, my guess is that Barrett is better or ranks higher in usage rate. That would be my guess. He does not. It's actually Ingram and then Barnes and then Barrett. And my guess is my guess would be that R.J. Barrett has good history against Brooklyn. Let's go look. Barrett versus net statistics. And then if you guys have any questions, I'll go and answer those. I don't really see your questions if I'm doing this. Barrett, how many times has he had 20 or more points against Brooklyn? 0 out of 3, 0 out of 4, 0 out of 5, 0 out of 6. Last 6 games, he's gone under that. 0 out of 6, 1 out of 7, 1 out of 8, 2 out of 9, 3 out of 10. He's only gone over in the last 3 out of 10 games against Brooklyn. What about, it looks like Terrence Mann may be his primary defender tonight. I want to see if I can look up R.J. Barrett versus Terrence Mann head-to-head statistics. Once I get done looking up Barrett or Barnes, I am going to answer any questions if you guys have any, and then I'm going to give you another injury update. Barrett, Barnes, Barrett, Terrence Mann versus Barrett. I don't want comparison. Sometime Atlanta basketball will take you to comparison versus other NBA stars. I don't want a comparison. I want the games played between R.J. Barrett and Terrence Mann, if possible. It's a pretty specific search query, and I'm not going to get it. I can look for, him versus Michael Porter Jr. My RJ Barrett versus Michael Porter Jr. MPJ does have a 6-2 career record against Barrett. Now that really comes to no surprise since MPJ used to roll with the Nuggets, much better team than he is with now. With all due respect, Brooklyn. So how many times has RJ Barrett had 20 plus points in a game against MPJ? 2 out of 3, 3 out of the last 4, 3 out of 5, 3 out of 6, 3 out of 7, 3 out of 8 career games. 3 out of 8 career games against MPJ he's gone over. And then what about Scotty Barnes? Can we find Scotty Barnes? Barnes versus Michael Porter. Head-to-head statistics here. MPJ has the 3-1 career record against him. Scotty Barnes has had 19 or more points in 2 out of 4 games against MPJ. He was 1 assist shy from a triple-double in his most recent game. Scotty Barnes was. And he's had a double-double in his last 2 games against Michael Porter. And I think I like Scotty Barnes points more. You know, it's less than Barrett's, and I just like what I see here a little bit more. I like what I see a little bit more. Now, Barrett, he likes shooting threes, doesn't he? Sometimes 2 for 4, 2 out of 6, 4 out of 8. So that's where I think Barrett is going to have to capitalize. I mean, Scotty Barnes chucks up his fair share of threes too. So shooting guards, Brooklyn allows the 8th most 3-point field goals made per game to the shooting guard position. And then what about the power forward position? They are slightly above average at limiting that. So maybe that's why they got Barrett over Barnes. I don't know. But I think Barnes should have a higher point total than Barrett. Okay, let me get to these comments. Thank you, guys. Did you see what they said about you in the exposed Discord? It says Morse. He deserved to get fired. Worst trade. Yeah. Questionable, says Ivan. That was the stupidest trade in NBA history. I try to see the bright side. Maybe he saw something that nobody else saw. I don't know, man. I was trying to give him the benefit of the doubt, but it doesn't look like anybody else was about that life. When Saw trade was asleep, got 100 calls when it happened. Yeah, I think I was asleep when it happened too, man. With Kyrie out, it makes the trade look worse. Heard Nico came, Lakers front office. Facts, Ivan thought fake. Yeah, I thought it was fake kind of too. You know what else I thought was fake at the time? I remember like it was yesterday, man. The Kobe Bryant 81 points game. I saw it at the bottom line, and I thought it was a joke, you know. And that was against the Raptors too, I think. And you know, we were speaking about the Raptors. Kobe Bryant scores 81, but yeah, that felt like it was a typo, man. And that's kind of how it felt there with that trade there. Okay. Yeah, that was. I thought. I was hoping it was fake. I was hoping it was fake, man. Kobe Bryant. I got to see him in person one time out at the Nuggets arena. It was in a playoff game, man. He basically won the Lakers the game that night. And the Nuggets were up. It was back when we had Melo and J.R. Smith and whatnot, and Kobe Bryant. I remember there was about a minute left in the game, and he hit a long three over over. I think it was J.R. Smith. But yeah, that was sad, man. Anyways, Memphis and Knicks. I just want to touch up on a few other things real quick, since we're kind of running a little short on time here. I just want to run through. Brooklyn allows the second most fast break points per game. Fast break points leaders. Instead of looking into this stuff as much as I have been, I'm just going to give you some general statistics here and kind of let you put together the puzzle piece. Hopefully tomorrow I'll be able to be on here a little bit sooner and look into stuff a little bit deeper. And I still will here, but in case you guys are in a rush, I want to give you guys at least something that you can take with you here. So let's do fast break points, and then we need 3-point field goals made per game. 3-pointers made. We can do rebounds and assists per game too. Okay, so let's run through this real quick. We already mentioned the points in the paint leaders for Brooklyn and Toronto. This is 3-pointers. This is rebounds, assists, points in the paint. Brooklyn. Nick Claxton could benefit tonight. I mentioned Toronto ranks 24th in points in the paint allowed per game. Now, his usage rate is not high, but if you're getting a good over-under on that point total, I think Claxton is in a good spot here for those points in the paint. Fast break points allowed per game. Brooklyn allows the second most, and R.J. Barrett. So that could be a reason why R.J. Barrett is above Scotty Barnes tonight in those points. R.J. Barrett ranks third best in the NBA in fast break points per game. Brooklyn allows the second most fast break points per game. So, but Scotty Barnes ranks 18th in fast break points per game. So, and then Emmanuel Quickly ranks 29th best in the NBA. So they got 3 good fast break point scorers going against a team that allows the second most fast break points per game. Brooklyn also allows the most assists per game. So if you're thinking about somebody for the assists tonight for Toronto, you got Quickly, who ranks first on the team, 15th best in the NBA in assists per game. And then Sheed, and then Scott ranks 36th, and then Scotty Barnes ranks 40th. If you want the specific position, let's go see if Toronto or Brooklyn allows a lot of assists to a specific position. We're looking for Brooklyn, right? They allow the 5th most to point guards. They allow the most to shooting guards, which R.J. Barrett should be that shooting guard tonight. Power forward, so there's another good spot for Scotty Barnes. I mentioned how he almost had a triple-double in his last game against Michael Porter Jr. I think he was one assist short. He was. And, going into tonight, Brooklyn allows the most assists per game to power forwards. So those are the 2 positions that they are vulnerable at. On the flip side, Toronto ranks 22nd in assists allowed per game. My concern with taking a Brooklyn net for assists tonight is the fact that Cam Thomas is out. That gives them one less person to throw the ball to. And, if I'm passing the ball, I want to throw it to somebody who I feel like can score the ball instead of, some backup guys. Now, they may be able to score tonight. I mean, any given what is today, Tuesday, but over the long term, I mean, I'm not necessarily looking to target assist props with a team that's depleted with injuries, unless you're getting a good line on it. But assists per game for Brooklyn is what we need to know. Assists per game, Brooklyn. I don't. Yeah, that's the famous sound of there's nobody in the top 50. In case, if you didn't hear it, I don't know if you did or not, but there's nobody for Brooklyn in the top 50 of the NBA in assists per game. Rebounds allowed per game. I mean, Brooklyn allows the third most rebounds per game to opposing teams, and Toronto, their main rebound guy is Scotty Barnes. Rebounds per game. He ranks 36th best in the NBA in that category. Brooklyn allows the second most rebounds per game to power forwards. I don't know what the line is on this game, but if I were to guess, Raptors 10.5. I mean, if this game stays close and Scotty Barnes is, I mean, he could. I've seen Scotty Barnes almost pick up a triple-double by halftime. But, I mean, I like his chances better if this game is competitive in the fourth quarter to get one. I won't be surprised to see Scotty Barnes pick up a triple-double tonight. And then, Brooklyn is the worst defensive team in the league. So I think, if you like Toronto player props, if we like Toronto player props tonight, you got a lot of things working for you. My only concern really would be a blowout. Memphis at New York. The Grizzlies ranked 25th in points in the paint allowed per game. So I would be looking to targets. But sometimes, guys, I do want to say, like, just because this team allows them, let's say, the most points per game to point guards, and they allow the most points in the paint per game, and your point guard gets the most points in the paint per game out of any player in the NBA. That sounds advantageous, and it probably would be. But if that line is set too high, then, then it makes it a more difficult decision. Like SGA, sometimes his points will be listed at like 34.5, and it's like, ooh, he's just got the most ideal matchup of all time. It's like, man. So yeah, it's all about that price. But the Knicks, points in the paint, Memphis allows a lot. So I want to see points in the paint per game. New York Knicks. Who is that leader in points in the paint per game? Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns. Mitchell Robinson is out, by the way, is what I'm seeing here on rotowire.com for those that are interested in that. Mamu is also out for Toronto. Mamu Kelashvili. Let me see if I got any other injury updates here. Jalen Williams out. Dort out for Oklahoma City. TJ McConnell still questionable. So, it looks like we have a lot clarified now with these starting lineups. And what we're really waiting on now is, I think, really TJ McConnell for Indiana. I'm still in football mode. Indiana. TJ McConnell typically runs that backup point guard position. Once again, he could be limited on some minutes tonight if he does play, or whenever he does return, he could be limited on minutes. And then Jamal Murray and Aaron Gordon are both probable, but which means that they should play, but you may want to check a little bit closer to game time to make sure. What were we saying? Brunson and Towns. Good at scoring points in the paint per game. How many points per game is Memphis allowing to point guards? The most. How many points per game is Memphis allowing to centers, which is what Karl Anthony Towns projected to play tonight? The sixth fewest. So that makes me kind of feel like it's a Brunson night. Also, I know Brunson is a capable three-point shooter. Memphis allows the second most three-point field goals made per game to that point guard position. They do rank 13th in three-pointers allowed, like we mentioned with Ivan's question about Mikal Bridges tonight. But, the first place I'd be looking for player props would be Brunson because of the fact that he is good at scoring points in the paint, and Memphis is bad at defending against points in the paint. Memphis allows the most points per game to Brunson's position, and Memphis allows the second most three-point field goals made per game to his position. Obviously, there's some other things that I would look into, but yeah, I think Brunson points could be beneficial there. If you're thinking about a New York Knick to get some rebounds tonight, or how about a Memphis Grizzly to hit some threes? Because the Knicks allow the third most three-point field goals per game to opposing teams. So, three-point field goals, where are they? I think they're right here. 3-point field goals made per game. Let's go see who's good for Memphis in that category. I got a bad sound whenever I searched in the top 50 for Memphis. Cam Spencer, if you were interested in that. Coward, Jaren Jackson Jr. So those guys are between 51st place and 99th best in the NBA at 3-point field goals made per game. They really don't get a lot, but if you had them on your radar for points or three-pointers tonight, you potentially have that working for you. Now, I do want to just see, how many three-point field goals Memphis or New York allows to that power forward position, which is typically what Jaren Jackson Jr. runs. That is what he is projected to play tonight. And, the Knicks to that specific position are below average. They've allowed the 8th most three-point field goals made per game to that position. They've allowed the second most to centers, the second most to small forwards, and those are their biggest vulnerabilities in positional defense. And then if you're thinking about for a New York Knicks to get some rebounds tonight, it'd probably be, Cat or something like that. Memphis does rank 18th in rebounds allowed per game, so they're slightly below average. Not a huge vulnerability. They have allowed the 9th most rebounds per game to centers. They've also allowed the 9th most rebounds per game to power forwards. So it looks like, even shooting guards, they've allowed the 7th most or so. So you got that working with you. Also, Memphis is not good when it comes to team defensive efficiency. They rank 20th. So they're slightly below average when it comes to, defense. I just want to mention, too, if you're thinking about taking a player over their points in that Brooklyn and Detroit matchup, not Brooklyn and Detroit, Brooklyn and Toronto matchup, both of those teams send their opponents to the free throw line more times than league average. So if you're thinking about player props in that one for points going over, you have the added benefit if your player goes to the free throw line a lot. If they're good at drawing free throws, if they're good at drawing contact, drawing those fouls. Yeah, thanks for mentioning that there, Michael. Promo code Bettors for 10% off in that store if you scan that QR code at the top right or top left corner. Sorry, it's been a long day, guys. Trying to keep it together as much as possible here. And let's just keep moving on here. Let's keep rolling through the punches. We don't have too many games left to talk about. Typically, I am much more prepared to talk about these games, but I've been juggling life plus football, and here we are with basketball. So I'm doing the best I can, guys. Hopefully, at least those injury updates are good for you. But anyways, Yeah, Philadelphia allows the most fast break points per game out of any team in the league. Other than that, I don't see a huge leak in the Philadelphia defense. But that specific, if you were thinking about taking a Boston Celtic, at the top of my head, I think it's Jaylen Brown who's best at fast break points per game. But let me double check. Fast break points per game. Fast break, that's points in the paint. Fast break points per game. Boston. Jaylen Brown ranks first on the Celtics, 22nd best in the NBA in fast break points per game. He averages 3.6 fast break points per game. So you have an added benefit there with Jaylen Brown if you were thinking about taking him over his point total tonight. What position does he play? Jaylen Brown is rocking that small forward tonight. So points per game allowed by Philadelphia to his position. Philadelphia is slightly below average at limiting those small forward points per game. I think Jaylen Brown's pretty decent at shooting threes, if I'm not mistaken. Philadelphia is right about middle of the pack and defending against his specific position. They're slightly below average in three-pointers allowed per game as a team. So you got that working for you if you're thinking about Jaylen Brown points. And then Boston allows the sixth most rebounds per game to opposing teams. So I already mentioned Embiid is out tonight. Looks like Drummond is coming in. If you guys have a rebound prop on Drummond, I would possibly be interested in that. We know that he can eat up those boards, and they're at 10.5. Just kind of depends on the minutes he's getting, but I'm not quite sure what his situation has been this season. I would look into it if I had a little bit more time here. But the center position, rebounds allowed by Boston to the center position. Looks like they are a little bit above average at limiting those rebounds to that specific position. They're real vulnerable to the shooting guard. Rebounds allowed to shooting guards. So if you were thinking about taking Edgecombe for rebounds for some reason, you got that working for you. But yeah, my first look, the first person I would look at for the rebound props is going to be Drummond. I think he's in a decent spot there. Also, if you're thinking about taking a Philadelphia 76er over the points tonight, Boston is a good defensive team, but they do send their opponents to the line the fourth most out of any team per game. So, and then Golden State and Oklahoma City, two really good defensive teams. Oklahoma City ranks first in team defensive efficiency. Golden State ranks eighth. Oklahoma City is typically vulnerable at allowing rebounds. That's the first thing that comes to mind whenever I think about teams that are playing against Oklahoma City. I know they're good at defending points in the paint and fast break points and all this stuff, but they are they are pretty vulnerable to those rebounds allowed per game. And I would definitely maybe be looking at that for some Golden State Warriors if you're interested in rebounds for them. Oklahoma City, wow, they allow the fourth most 3-point field goals made per game out of any team. So that fits right in with Chef Curry. Oklahoma City has allowed the sixth most 3-point field goals made per game to opposing point guards this season, which is what Stephen Curry is projected to play tonight. So depending on some other factors, I think, if you got Steph Curry tonight, we know he's a good 3-point shooter. He's going up against a bad 3-point defense and a bad, not just team defense, but specifically to that point guard position is what I'm seeing here on various sources. But, you know, it looks like Golden State is the weakest out of all these categories that I typically talk about: points in the paint, fast break points, 3-pointers, assists, rebounds. The most vulnerable that they seem relative to other teams in the league is points in the paint allowed per game. I think SGA is pretty good at those points in the paint, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I can double check real quick for you guys. OKC. Yeah, SGA ranked 7th best in the NBA, first on this team. Hartenstein, 22nd best in the NBA, second on the team. AJ Mitchell, 45th in the NBA, third on this team. In points in the paint, you got 3 guys that are good at scoring points in the paint per game. And then Indiana at Houston. Indiana, Houston. Siakam has a 10-6 career record against Markkanen. Siakam has a 10-6 career record against Nurkic. Curry has a 13-6 career record against SGA. I'm just going to go over some random stuff I had earlier. Jaylen Brown has a 25-15 career record against. One second, guys. Jaylen Brown has a 25-15 career record against Embiid. Derek White has an 11-5 career record against Kelly Oubre Jr. The Knicks have won 4 games in a row against Memphis, but John Morant has a 10-6 career record against Karl Anthony Towns. Toronto's won 3 games in a row against Brooklyn. What else do we have here? Siakam has a 10. I already mentioned that. Denver's won 6 games in a row against Sacramento. And then I went over that long list of career history. Jamal Murray has a 10-6 career record against Sabonis. Jokic has a 20-10 career record against DeRozan. But, let's go see where I think a lot of people will be interested in this Denver and Sacramento game. So Sacramento, I've already mentioned that they allow the 3rd most points in the paint per game to opposing teams. Jokic is 2nd best in the NBA in points in the paint per game. So I think just with that, in that regard, he has a big advantage tonight. And Sacramento allows the 7th most assists per game to opposing teams. So I would be looking for, a Denver Nugget assist prop. Maybe Jokic. The Kings do allow the 8th most assists per game to centers. And then point guards, the Kings they've been good at limiting those assists by point guards. So my first look would probably be not Jamal Murray, Jokic, right? And then Murray. But I would have to get a good line with Murray, What else here? Sacramento is slightly below average in 3-pointers allowed to teams, fast break points allowed to teams. Christian Brown ranked 1st in the NBA last season in fast break points per game. And, I don't think that's the same this season, but, the dude's good at scoring fast break points. So, whenever I see, and he's ranked 15th this year, 1st best on the Nuggets. So whenever I see teams that are below average or terrible at defending against fast break points per game, I think about Christian Brown. But Sacramento does rank 17th, so just slightly below average. Makes me want to glance over at Christian Brown's way, but obviously I would have to look at some other stuff. And you have more time. There's 3 hours left. I think fantasypros.com is a great source here. NBA defense versus position. The Kings. Christian Brown is projected to be that starting shooting guard tonight, and the Kings have allowed the third most points per game to shooting guards. I also know Christian Brown is a pretty decent three-point shooter. The Kings have allowed the fifth most three-point field goals made per game to shooting guards. And I mentioned earlier that Sacramento as a team are slightly below average at limiting the three-point ball per game to opposing teams. So I think Christian Brown is worthy of a look there. Sacramento is average at rebounds allowed per game. They allow the third most to centers. So that works well for Jokic tonight. I think Jokic is in another, decent position here to get another triple-double. Overall, Sacramento ranks 27th in team defensive efficiency. So they're a pretty bad defensive team when it comes to the defensive efficiency. The Nuggets are pretty dang good. They rank second best in team defensive efficiency. I don't really see a leak in this Nuggets game as of right now in regard to with those five major categories: the points in the paint, fast break, 3 points, assists, rebounds. I would say, their biggest vulnerability is points in the paint relative to the other teams in the league. Points in the paint allowed per game, and they rank ninth best. So, hopefully those Kings player props are a little bit lower than they usually are tonight. If you're thinking about Kings props, now it's any given night, right? I mean, sure, Levine could come out here and drop 30, and DeRozan and everybody. Sabonis picks up the triple double. It could happen, but the likelihood doesn't seem like it's too strong when you're going up against the second-ranked team defensive efficiency team, and then Indiana and Utah. Indiana, Indiana ranks 22nd in points in the paint allowed per game. So that makes me want to go maybe target a Utah Jazz player that is good at scoring points in the paint. And that's going to be Lauri Markkanen, ranks 19th best in the NBA at scoring points in the paint per game. And then when we look at that, he is that projected power forward tonight. So when we look at Indiana points per game allowed to power forwards, they allow the fifth most. And I know Lauri can shoot threes. As a team, Indiana ranks fourth best at defending against that three ball, which it doesn't help Lauri Markkanen tonight. And then against the power forward position, Indiana ranks fourth best in limiting those 3-point field goals to that power forward position. So that makes me a little skeptical about that. Now, if you can find a good 3-point shooter for Indiana, I think you're onto something there possibly, because Utah allows them third most 3-point field goals made per game to opposing teams. And when we're looking at the three ball, who do we have here for Indiana that makes the most 3-point field goals per game? Nesmith. Is he looks like he's playing tonight against Utah. Looks like he's projected to start at that shooting guard position, and Utah allows the most 3-point field goals made per game to his position. So I think if you're thinking about Nesmith points and or 3-point field goals, you're in a good spot there. Also, just want to mention Utah allows the most points per game to that shooting guard position. And, with some injuries that Indiana are going through right now, I think that could be beneficial. We could look up real quick Indiana Pacers usage rates, right? And I think Nesmith might be up here out of the players that are active tonight. Mathurin, it's Siakam, and then it's Nembhard, Mathurin, Toppin. I think some of those guys are out. Mathurin out, Toppin out, Mathurin out, Toppin out, Mathurin, Toppin. So then it's really going to be Siakam, Mathurin, Nesmith in my eyes is what I'm That's what I'm really seeing there in regards to usage rate. Um, Utah's done a pretty good job at defending against points per game against point guards, though, which is what Nimhard's running. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Indiana opt to Neesmith a little bit more tonight. That's what I would do. And then, Siakam, how many points per game do the Utah Jazz allow to that power forward position? They're actually slightly above average there. So matchup wise, plus usage rate, Neesmith seems like a pretty viable option right now. Also, if you're thinking about taking an Indiana Pacer for assists, Utah ranks 26th in assists allowed per game. So they're allowing a lot as a team. And when we look at assists, is this it? Yeah. Indiana, who's good at assists? Siakam. Siakam is the best assist per game guy on this team. Ranks 21st in the NBA. He's projected to run power forward tonight. How many assists per game is Utah allowing to power forwards? According to fantasypros.com, they are they're tied for the third most, allowing the third most assists. I think a problem with that is just Indiana relying on Siakam's points with all the injuries. But, I could see it happening. I did mention Utah is pretty decent at defending against points per game to the power forward position, and that maybe Siakam looks for Neesmith a little bit tonight, and some other guys prefer or mainly Neesmith. But Indiana allows the fourth most rebounds per game to opposing teams. So if you're thinking about maybe Nurkic getting those rebounds tonight, that could be a possibility. Let's go see how many rebounds per game Indiana allows to the center position. They allow the fourth most. So if you're thinking about Nurkic on those rebounds tonight, you got that working for you. Heck, if you're thinking about Markkanen on his rebounds, Indiana, gets the fourth most or allows the fourth most to both of those positions, the center and power forward position. Now, let me make sure we don't have any other questions here. Looks like that about does it. And I'm just going to look at the injury updates one more time here, see if we got anything else. I'm really just seeing TJ McConnell's questionable to play tonight. Once again, he could be on that limited minutes. And so Jamal Murray and Aaron Gordon are probable to play, meaning they most likely will play, but it hasn't been confirmed yet. The only lineup that I see is confirmed is Toronto's. And sometimes it's very rare that I see it, but sometimes I will see that a team has a lineup confirmed, and then after the lineup's confirmed, one of the players will be a late scratch. Very rare that I see that, but it does happen, unfortunately. Or maybe fortunately if you got that player's under and it stays live. But you know what I just noticed is that the Memphis Grizzlies have 4 guys out of their starting lineup tonight that have the first name that start with the letter J. Ja Morant, Jalen Wells, Jaren Jackson, and Chalk Landale. A lot of J's. Toronto, Brooklyn. Mitchell Robinson. I'm seeing that he's out tonight for the Knicks. That was an injury update that happened after I started my initial injury updates at the start of the show. But other than that, everything looks good. How many games do we have on tomorrow? I'm on here a little bit late today, so I'm going to have to get going here. Thank you guys for joining. Well, I'm just trying to see how many games are on tomorrow. I thought I was going to have more time today. I thought I was going to be on earlier. Things happened, but I'll try to be on here tomorrow earlier to break down these NBA games because we have a lot tomorrow. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Cool. And hope you guys have a great day. Good luck. Thanks again for joining. And I just want to say a special thank you to our sponsors, BetUS, MyBookie.ag, Walmart.com, Open Goal, the MLB and NFL Pro Shops, also W Energy Drinks. And if you use promo code BETTERS, all caps, get 10% off of your purchase. Also, if you're interested in parlays, I'm not big into the parlays, but I'm not here to tell you to do them or not to do them. You do what we're all grown ups. We'll do what we want. But there is somebody within the Not Move podcast that does provide some picks for those parlays, Southgate's parlays. If you scan that QR code, top left-hand corner of the screen, should take you to the details of that. But it's $9.99 per day, $9.99 per day, $49.99 per week. I personally haven't tried the product because I don't do the parlays, but I hear he's pretty good at what he does. So if you're interested in that option is available. Maybe you don't have the time to watch the shows. Maybe you just want to see what it's about. That option is available. But I don't have a pick of the day today, guys. I usually do. I mean, I'm going to have to lean towards my Nuggets tonight. But usually I come on here and have at least, a play. I'm thinking maybe Boston. I just haven't had any time today to really look at that stuff. That's what I feel most confident in, the money lines and the spreads. And I don't want to just come on here and give you guys just some random stuff. I'd rather feel a little bit better about it than I do today. But, hopefully the injury updates were good for you and some of that information. Typically we look at a lot of different stuff in these player props. We just didn't have enough time to thoroughly look into them today, but hopefully we can do that tomorrow. It's nice to have a change of pace though too. Instead of focusing on one player prop for 20 minutes, just kind of doing the general research like we just did. So I'm always thinking about ways to come up with a good, ways to improve the show for you guys. So it's a work in progress. Thanks for bearing with us. Thanks for sticking around, and good luck tonight. And I'll see you guys most likely tomorrow, barring any setbacks. Take care. Good luck.
This non-casual podcast may not be reproduced, retransmitted, or reused without the authorized written consent of the Not Move Podcast Network. Thank you, and we hope you enjoyed today's broadcast.